maybe the news is gonna get better in the financial picture. You go into the State House and they tell you that it's on a steep downhill run.
Oh, yeah. And we have to assume it's going to continue to go down that direction, and we need to be conservative as a result. Everyone needs to retrench.
Right.
Right.
I think that the latest story that I saw was don't expect a full recovery until 2014, fiscal
Oh,
2014,
yeah.
in terms of getting to the level we are now. So
Right.
we're talking 4 years out in terms of what we're planning for now. So I think we have to be conservative.
Absolutely.
But Jerry's point really should be thought out. If we don't have a contract negotiated with the teachers union, then we are obligated to move forward with the existing contract, which would include step
73.
movements.
Yeah.
See, I want to check, actually, I'd like to check with the superintendent on that. Or in terms of, if we don't have a contract by July 1st, are we obligated to continue with the step raises, or is that up to the school committee and the superintendent?
Oh, it's up to the school committee.
Oh, the superintendent has no role in that? Are you?
Go off the record, tell us what you reckon.
Oh, I see. No, that's up to the school committee.
But it's not an automatic, I mean, it has been in the past. Has it
Does it
been?
automatically extend?
Unless it will, unless you choose otherwise. You have to sit down and discuss that.
So-
Okay, so he's saying wait till executive session.
Well, we have to vote on a budget. I guess I'm going to go along with Maureen's position that we include I mean, we're on the same page, but I
Right.
think maybe the way you're recommending it is the
And
better
if
strategic
we
way to
get
go right now.
caught short, we could go to October town meeting and
Mhm.
transfer the
Okay.
funds from stabilization then, and the case would be stronger then.
But the
We'd
bud-
already start the school year.
The question I have for David is, you're already planning for next year. Mr. Colleen's here. You're already planning for next year and what kind of courses we're going to be offering and where we need the teachers and how many students. How do you plan if we're going to go with an available funds budget that we know is $516,000 short? And if we, as Jerry says, if we don't have a contract by July 1st, we've got to find that money somewhere. But the superintendent already has to put
Well,
together.
you may want to start sending out those layoff notices.
That's what
I mean, if you've got that kind of a deficit.
because we're going to have that deficit.
Well, no, I would need to send out
Yeah.
those notices by.
Because we've got an unassigned reduction
The end
of,
of May.
you know,
No, by the latest of June 15th.
well, again,
Well, I think
We
the
wanna start
200
doing
in the
that.
stimulus is, I think it's
So we're down to
bankable.
516, we've got a 516,000
516.
deficit.
We have
516.
control over the 306.
Correct.
Okay, so we would be looking in the area of the 273.
I think, I think it's fair to say that we have about a $210,000 deficit right now.
Mhm. I would say that's pretty.
And I think that based on our discussions at the finance planning team, that is a number that we might be able to get support from stabilization
And if not, in June town meeting,
in October.
in October.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
I feel comfortable based on what we have here. I don't feel comfortable based on what's been going on at the state and revenue collections.
Yeah. Oh, Marcy Graves.
Those of us in the audience just lost your train of thought for a minute. So can you just explain how you got from the 516 to the 210, where that 300?
It's,
We-
200 is the stimulus funds that we're using to fill that gap?
Right, but that
that's
gets us
down
to
to 500.
516.
That gets
The
us-
rest of the money is the salary pool that we've set aside.
So from the 500 to get down
To
is
200 is about
the
316,000.
salary pool?
Mm-hmm.
I also want to remind the committee that if we send out layoff notices in mid-May, all of those personnel are eligible to collect unemployment effective July 1 until we hire them back, until we give them notice that they're coming back.
Okay, I'm ready to vote an available funds budget.
Well, can I actually just make a recommendation
Sure.
on that? Before, we need an absolute number, and I don't know whether,
When's the next finance planning team?
well, it's, 22nd. But we have our public hearing on the budget will be the next meeting, which will be Tuesday, the 26th. And the committee could vote on the absolute number at that, right at the start of that meeting.
Get
And
it
then,
over there.
and then, what?
Don't you have to get it to the select?
No, it doesn't
29th.
need to get over to town hall until later, at the end of the week.
Yeah, Friday, the 19th.
So what I like to go back and really go through, unless you have that bottom line number.
I don't, because I'm still unclear on what the outcome here is.
Okay,
But perhaps conceptually, the committee could, number one, agree on everything that's gotten us to this point,
okay.
and then maybe take it step by step, which then will allow us to go back and
Plug numbers in.
plug the numbers in. And I want to have a right bottom line number.
Let's take a vote on the 200,000 for the stimulus. Do we have a vote to plug in that number?
Yeah, if we need a vote on it, I don't have a problem.
Is there, okay. Jerry makes a motion,
I'll move.
and a second. All those in favor of using a conservative $200,000 in the stimulus money towards the budget?
Aye.
And could I also recommend you, I know this is a little confusing, but perhaps to also take a vote on using
IDEA.
the IDEA money
Okay,
as described for FY '10.
That's $332,495, correct?
Yes,
Including the
12.
preschool.
I'm actually going to recommend that, based
20.
on, that I would cut that in half.
So 326
I would,
to...
make it easy, I would just subtract 6,000,
Okay, so
from that.
326,495.
226,
326.
326, 495.
Make that motion, Mel?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Do we have a
See
second?
how I do that?
Second by Cliff. All those in favor of using
326,495
326,495
from IDEA.
stimulus and preschool money? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
And what about a
I guess
third
I
vote
have
on no
6,000.
reductions in level 2?
Do we need to
Do
do
we need
that?
to
But I
do
mean,
that?
I don't have a problem with it.
What
It's a
are we doing?
consensus, for sure.
Reductions and not recommended.
Not to make the cuts in level 2.
I think we can, I don't know if I feel,
Rather than a motion.
Consensus.
You wanna leave it
Consensus,
consensus?
yeah.
The consensus,
Yeah,
I agree.
is a better
Okay.
way to go
I
at it.
agree.
Is it accurate to say that the consensus of this board is not to make any staff reductions in level 2?
yes.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
So Carl, will you have those numbers for the finance planning meeting?
Yes, I will.
I'm sure they'll have new adjusted revenue numbers for us too. So. Okay.
And so you're not going any further than that?
We took a consensus not to make the reductions outlined in level 2, but
Okay.
not a vote.
And anything on any of the other reductions?
No, we left the salary pool alone for now. So we did the stimulus for the operating budget, the stimulus for the IDEA money,
Okay.
and we stopped short of making any staff cuts.
Consensus, no staff cuts.
Okay. All right. Does anyone have any questions on the budget, any comments or input?
I just have enough to call, but on your Thursday meeting, could you send us an email, just sort of letting us know?
Okay, next item on the agenda is the school security report.
Not good.
It's not good.
No.
Over the last week, last few days, there's been a very high level of vandalism in the school department. There was damage done to school buses that are parked at the high school parking lot, which actually yields us a credit in our transportation bill. So we really prefer to have them parked there to receive that credit. There was also damage done to the high school and the bachelor school. And Carl, would you?
Sure. You know, it's a sad statement we have to make here today when we're talking about the awful cuts we're making, yet we're now having to devote a sum of well over $10,000 out of this year's budget to pay for the vandalism that occurred last week at two of our schools. What we found when we came in on Wednesday was that 19 windows in school buses were broken. By the way, that is the fourth incident this year at the high school parking lot that have involved damage and vandalism to school buses. We also found that a window in the high school was broken, and a large double-pane window here at the Batchelder School were broken, presumably by the same vandals. We take this very seriously because it just can't be continuing to occur. We're involving the police. They're undertaking an investigation now. We have every effort to attempt to identify who the culprits are. We are taking other measures to safeguard ourselves immediately, but it's important that the community knows that as we talk about laying off teachers, as we're talking about reducing supplies for classrooms, we're now having to divert some of those resources to pay for totally unnecessary vandalism. It's a sad statement, frankly, and I hope that in particular parents are aware that this is occurring and it is happening probably by some of the students who attend these schools.
Al, do we have any cameras on the outside of the high school that we can point towards the buses?
Well, you know, that's an excellent question. I think it's appropriate probably to defer an answer to that at this time, but I can tell you that we're making efforts to utilize our current security systems to assist us in this investigation.
Any questions for Kyle?
At the high school, was that it was in a courtyard. Was it a courtyard that would require being in the school to get to it, or was it?
It was it was one of those double hung windows coming up the corridor towards C wing on the right, on the outside. No,
Okay.
it's an
So-
exterior window on
okay.
the corridor, not too far from the auditorium.
Right, okay.
There were some in the C wing too, up in the classrooms.
Wasn't there also graffiti at the middle school, or was that not part of this, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, it is an ongoing police investigation, and interestingly, about a month ago, the North Reading Police, through our Youth at Risk Committee, gave an excellent workshop to the administrative staff and our counseling staff on gangs and how to recognize gang activity, symbols, and graffiti, and so forth. So I think that we may want to be considering the impact of that as well in North Reading. So I wanted to use this presentation, normally this would be part of an administrative report, but I think given the extent of the damage that was done a week ago, it really is worth a full agenda item. As the committee knows, we move forward with phase 1 of our school security capital project. And what that did was to control the access to the buildings at the high school, the middle school, and the Batchelder School. And those systems are now in operation. So that anyone entering the building must either be buzzed in those 3 schools, or if you have what's called a key fob, everything it's like a swipe, where you can activate access to the main door. And these key fobs are highly programmed so that it allows different degrees of access. So, for example, if you're the camera person coming in to set up at the middle school, we would give you access from this time to that time. But in addition to building access at the high school, the middle school, and the Batchelder School, we also deployed security cameras. And those are both in main areas as well as in the exterior. However, given the limitations of that capital budget, we need to really rethink additional deployment of cameras. The second round of capital funding, another $150,000. The first one was for $150,000 plus $25,000 from the Batchelder building project. The total project cost that was actually proposed